I know. What are you doing? What am I supposed to do about this? What am I supposed to do about this? You're very cute, but you're not making this easy. Hi, it's Kim from K. Becker's Books. Welcome to another installment of my Bookish week. This is for the week ending Saturday, August 1st. And I'm filming this on, my glasses are fogging up. I'm filming this on Sunday the 2nd, but here you go. Anyway, so what have I done last week in a bookish way? Well, let me show you what I finished reading. Last week I finished reading 3 books. One of them was very short, and I would call this either a novella or a really long short story. This is Daisy Miller from Henry James, and it was my first Henry James, and a really good place to start because it is so short. And Henry James is one of those authors that very easily can sound intimidating, and did for me for a long time, but I thought I would dive in with this one. And it was very good. Daisy Miller is the story of an American teenager touring Europe with her mother and her younger brother. Their father is a wealthy manufacturing businessman who stayed home to continue to work while they were vacationing. They come from New York, and Daisy meets up with another young American whose name is Winterbourne, and he comes from more like a wealthy family, so he follows conventions and he follows manners and propriety of the customs at the time, and Daisy simply does not. She's immature, she's flighty, passionate, excitable. She's kind of a regular American teenager. There's commentary in here about wealth, status, new money, old money. Very good, and wasn't perfect, but I really enjoyed reading Daisy Miller. The next book I finished was Jazz from Toni Morrison, and this is for the Toni Morrison 2020 read-along hosted by Hannah at Hannah's Books, which I will link below. And I had said on a Voxer chat that to me Toni Morrison is a literary god, and I believe that. However, Jazz was not the most successful novel for me. The title is a little deceiving because it says jazz, and so you kind of think that it's possibly about the jazz age, and there'll be a lot of music and talking about culture, and it's not really. It describes the style of writing that Morrison utilized in the novel. It is set in Harlem, New York in the 20s and probably 20s and 30s. It basically talks about the migration north of former slaves and families of slaves, and the Great Black Migration from the south states of the country to the north. And I am still kind of analyzing what her style meant, what she was trying to do with the way she wrote the novel. I didn't like it. The jazz music is very improvisational, and it flows from one thing to the next, and it's a continuous work in progress as it's happening, and you add on to transitions, and you add on to a lot of the music, and it goes from there, and that's very much how it's written. However, there were many tense changes and setting changes, voice changes. There's a mysterious narrator that I kind of analyzed at the end of the book and believe I know who the narrator was, but it's a very meta format and meta resolution at the end. I did not love it, and I was a little disappointed. There were many points of gorgeous writing, and the main story is Violet and Joe, a married couple who have migrated from the South to Harlem, and Joe, who is around 50, starts an affair with a teenage girl, Dorcas. He ends up shooting and killing her. And at her funeral, Violet, it's not really a spoiler, it happens very early. Violet goes to the funeral with a knife, intending on ruining Dorcas's face. And so she is physically stopped by several of the ushers at the funeral from basically mauling this dead girl's face. And it talks about the reactions of Joe and Violet and the dynamics of their failing marriage. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting storyline. Much of the book goes into their backgrounds and the characters that overlap in each of their stories. The story I really liked. The writing I did not. So that was disappointing to me because I was really looking forward to a good Toni Morrison book. The other book I finished very quickly was Fun Home by Alison Bechdel. This has made the rounds. This is not a new book, but it is a graphic memoir about Bechdel's family who lived in a funeral home, and that's why they used to call it the Fun Home. Talks about their family. She is one of 3 siblings. She has 2 brothers. She grew up in a very cold, exacting, distant family. Parents who were emotionally and mentally absent. They didn't grow up with a lot of fun and affection and love. They lived in a home that her father treated as a museum, and it was a gorgeous place, but he filled it with many design elements and things and possessions, and the family was expected to keep up with that, even under his demand. It's a very transparent look at secrets and deception and manipulations of mostly her father, his secret life, Alison's secret life, which she discovers in college, her own identity. Very early on, it's revealed that her father has died, and it talks about the situation around that. I thought it was brilliant. A graphic memoir. Let me make sure I get an appropriate page. It's in black and white with a little bit of blue or greenish background. And I thought it was brilliant. I'm not a giant fan of graphic novels, and I don't really read novels, but I have read a few graphic memoirs and love them. This one was exceptional, so I would definitely recommend that. Those are the 3 books I finished. What am I currently reading? I am and will be continuing to be currently reading These Truths by Jill Lepore for the These Truths read along for the year. I will link Karen Evans' video below. I am continuing to read How Race is Lived in America, and I read another few articles this past week. One of them was exceptionally revealing to me, and this is, well, they're all very revealing to me, but this one really struck me, and it is, let me get to the right page, it is called Who Gets to Tell a Black Story. It was written by Janie Scott from the New York Times. And I don't know if you can see that picture, but the actor Charles S. Dutton is in the middle. And the man on his right is David Mills. And the man on his left is David Simon. David Simon wrote a TV show called The Corner, which was picked up by HBO. And David Mills was his writing partner. David Mills is African American, but passes as white, not obviously so. And David Mills and David Simon wrote The Corner, which detailed a corner in Baltimore, Maryland, or many corners in a poor Black community. It surrounded the topics of drugs and the drug trade, local communities, and their daily lives, what happened with groups that hung out on the corner. And the article talks about who gets to write a Black story. There's a white writer, a white main writer who documented this story, and he embedded himself in the community. So he got to be known by the Black community. he was accepted eventually, and he wrote their story in all of its rawness and honesty. It was picked up by HBO, and Charles S. Dutton was brought in to direct it. He initially had a lot of problems with it coming from a white writer. So it talks very much about the concept of own voices, even though this collection was published 19-20 years ago. So there's a good deal of commentary that you can read into the article about own voices, who gets to tell a story and who should tell a story. There's conversation about Charles S. Dutton's background. He was a criminal in his past. He served time in prison. While in prison, he started to read poetry and plays written by Black authors, and it transformed him. He went on to become a Broadway actor, a TV actor, and then a director. So there's a lot to explore in that one article about telling Black stories and who gets to do that, and own voices, even though 20 years ago it wasn't called that. And the other book I'm currently reading, I finally picked it up, is Chanel Miller's Know My Name. This is infuriating, and I am a little more than a third of the way through. As we all know, Chanel Miller was the Emily Doe of the Brock Turner rape case. And I'm not going to go too far into details. Everybody, I think, knows what this is about. But when I finish it, I do want to do an individual review, its own video review. It's very difficult to read, but I've always thought if she can and has endured this, I can certainly read about it and learn something from it. What am I about to read? I don't do TBRs, as you know if you've watched any of my videos, but I've got one, and there's very good reasons. I am in the Barter Hordes book club with Robert, which his channel and link I'll put below, and the very first inaugural book that we're reading, it's the Barter Hordes Backlist book club, and Pete Dexter's Paris Trout. I hadn't really heard of this before, so let me read a little tiny bit from the back. Let's see. Pete Dexter's National Book Award winning tour de force tells the mesmerizing story of a shocking crime that shatters lives and exposes the hypocrisies of a small southern town. The time and place, Cotton Point, Georgia, just after World War II. The event, the murder of a 14-year-old Black girl by a respected white citizen named Paris Trout, who feels he's done absolutely nothing wrong. Yesterday was our very first day to start reading the book, and we're after, I think, 3 weeks in August, Robert's going to start discussing it. So I'm about to start that. For the Critical Chicks book group, which will be Zoom meeting on August 19th, we are picking up Deacon King Kong by James McBride. I've got this a while ago and been dying to read it, and so this is what we picked. And September 1969, a fumbling, cranky old church deacon known in the neighborhood as Sport Coat shuffles into the courtyard of the Causeway Housing Projects in South Brooklyn, pulls a .38 from his pocket, and in front of everybody, shoots the project's drug dealer at point-blank range. I expect great things from this. It's James McBride, and been dying to read that. And as of today, I'm starting a buddy read that is going through August, and I think the majority of September. And I am reading one of my bucket list books with Freddie from The Sluggish Reader. And again, his channel I'll link below. I love his channel. He's great. So check him out if you haven't seen his channel yet. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clark. I'm not going to really offer any description. This book has been around for a long time. However, I'll give you the page count. I think I've already done this before, and I have the hardcover version. My version is 782 pages. Freddie's got the paperback version, and we're going to coordinate by reading 2 chapters a day for 5 days a week, and I think we'll get done a little after the middle of September. And he suggested, and his channel name is The Sluggish Reader, so he claims that he's a slow reader, and he really wanted to read the book, but it was intimidating because it's so long, and he's like, would you mind if we read it over 8 weeks? And I'm like, absolutely not, let's do it, because it's so long. So, that's what I've read, that's what I'm currently reading, that's what I'm about to read. Let me know if you've read any of the books and what you think. Let me know if you love them, hate them. Write a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love you to do that, so hit the subscribe button. and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.